Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, listeners might be surprised to know that less than half of the Maxol Group's profits are generated from fuel. So how has the culture of innovation within the company enabled it to develop its retail offering, and how is Maxol preparing for the move to electric vehicles? Its Chief Executive, Brian Donaldson, joins us now to answer these questions. But Brian, how is Maxol performing now in the Irish market?
Good morning, Karl. It's great to be here. We're doing well as a family business. In 2024, we've already sort of been rolling out our new coffee offer, Rosa, where we've revamped what we've been doing, and we're now introducing sort of ice-based coffee and also oat milk-based coffee now as well. And we're continuing to expand our offer in terms of electrification, particularly for those early adopters who have moved over to electric vehicles. You know, we opened one of the largest EV hubs in the south of Ireland, just in Maxol Newbridge in Kildare. That's been well received, certainly by all of the customers using it. And of course, we just continue to invest very much within our, food service offer, within our business. And, the start of the year was slow. Weather hasn't been great this year, but thankfully has started to pick up over the last 4 to 5 weeks. And that's a big driver of footfall and business into our network of sites, all of which are independently operated by local people from the local community. So, look, we're happy enough.
And Brian, having worked your way up through the ranks, how did your experience across all aspects of the organisation benefit you when you became the CEO?
I think the first thing I would say is I started at the bottom of the organisation. I came in as a graduate trainee as far back as 1986. And when you work for a family business, you have to roll the sleeves up. And there's not one task that you shouldn't do or cry away from. I think the other thing that I've learned within my number of years in working in the business is that you need to surround yourself with people who are like-minded. But I always try to bring in people with different skills to myself so that they complement, but also smarter people as well, and people who you can see that want to grow their careers and progress with the organization as well. So I think in terms of whenever I took the role over way back in 2016, it was certainly bringing life skills. My role is really to serve the people who work in the business so that they can do their job to their best of ability. It was almost a style of servant leadership. Rather than them working for me, it was me working for them. And I think that's one of the things that helped us move our culture forward, but also create an environment that people like to work in, and they saw that they were being treated well, rewarded well, but also the business then started to grow and became much more successful as well. So, those are the things that I believe are important. You've got to listen to your people, you've got to support your people, and you're there to serve them as much as they are there to work hard for the organisation.
Maxol is locally owned in each of the areas across the country. Talk to us about that and how that operates.
We have about 120 freehold company-owned properties. So our model is very much a turnkey licensee model. We don't directly manage any of our company-owned sites. So we look for independent retailers who've got flair, who've got ambition, and who have the same values as what we have as an organization, in which to be open, to be honourable, to be a champion, but also to respect and be honourable to everyone that comes into the business or whoever they actually employ or who they actually serve as customers. So our model is predicated on finding the right retailer for the right location. And typically what you're seeing is those are people from the local area. So instantly they have recognition, they already have some camaraderie with the people who live in each of those catchments where we have service stations. And then they employ people from the local area, and also they're there to serve those people. So again, what we see it is local, 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 but actually working in the interests of that local community. And that's how our model works. We try to find the right locations. We invest in those locations. We try to put in the best equipment. We maintain that equipment, and we also provide marketing support. Many of your listeners may have seen our new TV campaign, Bags More, which doesn't mention fuel, but talks about all of the other products and services that we provide. And that's how we're transitioning away from being seen as purely a fuel forecourt retailer to being a convenience-led retailer, with fuels and energies becoming more secondary.
And on that topic, some listeners might be surprised to learn that less than 50% of Maxol's profits are actually generated from its fuel business.
And that's been very deliberate, Carl. Regulation, legislation is changing mobility. By 2035 within Europe, the ban on internal combustion engine vehicles will be in play, meaning that no new cars can be petrol or diesel. They've got to be net zero or zero emissions. So that's going to be electrification, it may be hydrogen, or it may be some form of new synthetic fuel or recycled fuel. So we have to make sure that we have a business that also has strong legs. So in other words, at the moment, as you've said, over 50% of our profits are coming from non-fuel. But it's still important that we don't forget about those customers who still require our traditional fuels in terms of petrol, diesel, our advanced fuels or our premium fuels. And also recently we've introduced hydrotreated vegetable oil, which is a direct replacement for diesel, and it cuts your emissions by 90%. So that's an easy way for customers to do their bit for the environment by reducing their emissions.
If you've just tuned in, I'm speaking to the CEO of Maxol, Brian Donaldson. Brian, while the move to electric vehicles has stalled at least in the short term, how is Maxol preparing for the inevitable move from the fuel pump to EV charging in the longer term?
We're looking to roll out about another 20 EV hubs on the island of Ireland. Certainly one of the things that we're looking at is space, additional land. Those locations which we think are fit for purpose for developing EV hubs, you need more space, you need more car parking. But also at the same time, you need to have the right facilities to service those customers who are moving over to electrification. Their dwell time whenever they're charging is going to be about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Whereas today, those refueling with traditional fuels is probably only going to be on our site between 5 and 8 minutes. So it means that we have to have the right range of services, the right convenience goods within our store, the right food for now, the right coffee, the seating areas, the washrooms, and any ancillary services that we can provide. But you need space, you need the right footprint in which to be able to serve those customers as they migrate and transition over to electrification. And our view is that there's still a strong business in liquid fuels, albeit they're much more lower emission fuels with higher biofuel content. And I've already mentioned hydrotreated vegetable oil. I think the key thing here is that there will still be a large pool of those vehicles that will still need to be serviced with petrol and diesel until they become end of life. And any new ICE which is being sold at the moment certainly has a life of between 10 and 15 years. So there's still a business there, and those customers still need to be served.
Over the past 10 to 15 years, we've seen an awful lot of motorway service stations pop up across the country. Was that business that Maxol was actively chasing?
To be quite honest with you, our model is slightly different to those roadside motorway locations. We've always invested within local communities. That's normally where you're going to find a community store, where you're going to have a hinterland of residential families, or where you're going to have a hinterland of light industrial parks, where people have to come every day. Our mission is to try to serve our customers for breakfast, for lunch, for evening meal solutions, and also anything else that they require, from car washing to EV charging to top-up services, for utility bills, or in terms of making sure that we remain relevant. And our focus has always been to invest in those kind of communities where you will have a catchment, a base of people who will frequent and use our services and our facilities, if we get it right, on a very regular basis. We just don't want to be the occasional top-up shopper or the occasional place you go for your coffee. We want to be first choice. We want to see, and we are seeing, our customers coming through on a very high frequency each day over the week.
And as some of your existing sites and of course new sites will be migrating to EV charging locations, is the capacity of the electricity grid any concern to you right now?
I think that's a great question. Yes, getting the power to the right location is a challenge because infrastructure needs investment, and that's high cost. Now, we work very closely with ESB networks, And we understand the challenges that they have. But what we're seeing, once you identify the right location and you apply for a certain level of power, any of the hubs that we're looking at, it requires 1 meg of energy. That's an awful lot of energy. Typically today, a service station would only use about 10% of that. So it's tenfold in terms of the type of energy that you're looking for purely for an EV hub. And what we see at the moment, once you identify the right location, once you apply to ESB in terms of grid reinforcement and getting the capacity to what you need, it can take at least 2 years before you actually see your EV hub up and running. So yes, there are challenges in terms of timeline. There are the challenges in terms of the costs involved. And the other thing in this, Karl, is at this moment in time, the number of pure electric battery vehicles is under 150,000. That is quite a small percentage of a market where there are over 2 million internal combustion engine vehicles. So it's only around about 4 to 5% of the complete car pool. So it's early days, and therefore your investments aren't going to perform terribly well. But what we're trying to do is to learn by building these EV hubs now so that we can improve as the market turns over to more and more customers buying EVs.
I'd like to speak to you next about your Auto 24 model. People here in County Wexford will be familiar with your Auto 24 station on Trinity Street in Wexford town. Talk to us about the thinking behind transitioning a station over to that 24-hour model on an automated basis.
Yeah, well, look, there's quite a lot of regulations that you have to go through. The first thing is that whenever we develop an Auto 24 site such as Trinity Street, that's under a remote monitoring station. So every transaction, when someone goes to the pump, puts in their credit card or their debit card or the Maxol fuel card, and it has to be authorized remotely by someone in a monitoring station. So everything is closely monitored. So technology has played a big part in being able to develop Auto 24 locations. And that's the same in making sure that people feel safe and secure. And also if there's an issue, then we can deal with it, extremely quickly. But in terms of Trinity Street, it is a site that is in a good location. It has a car wash facility there, which is doing extremely well. And it's an opportunity for us, to serve the customer who's looking purely for fuel or for car washing. So we see that as a different mission. And what people want in those kind of locations is speed of service so they can get in and out and get on with doing what they want to do, during the day.
Brian, Maxol has put a lot of investment into innovation around that retail side of the business in recent years. Talk to us about the approach that you took to that.
Technology is critical in terms of making sure we've got the controls in place, but also to make sure that we give our independent retailers the right management information and controls that they need to have to operate a first-class business. Back in 2018, we put in a complete new front-of-house system to control the changing aspect of our business, where the focus was moving to food service, to coffee, for tonight's meal solutions, but also just in terms of how we can speed up the payments within our stores. COVID was certainly a big changer in terms of people moving away from cash. It introduced people back into contactless at quite a staggering rate, and that almost happened overnight. So technology is extremely important. Everything that we have today is monitored using technology. Even in terms of equipment, and we measure uptime. That's making sure the equipment is live and working. And where we get these red flags or signals, then we are much more speed of action, call to action to go out and fix that piece of kit. But also it's making sure that we have the right platform in which to run our loyalty app, which is doing extremely well. This is where we reward our customers with coffee, with car washing, with in-store offers, and also gamification, where we'll run special competitions for free items of lower value to higher value. And this enables us to connect with our customers.
Last year, Maxol launched its Homegrown at Maxol program. What is the purpose of the program and how successful was it?
Last year's program was extremely successful, and it was the inaugural year in terms of rolling out homegrown at Maxol. And this all comes back to our roots. We're a family-owned business, and we have had some luck over the years. And what we want to do is to give something back to those businesses which are maybe at the early stages of their growth. And this is all about giving businesses that produce products in Ireland the opportunity to get them displayed in prime locations within our 73, 74 odd stores in the south of Ireland, and to work with them in terms of how we market their products to try to grow and build their awareness, and also where they can sit down with our independent retailers who have tremendous experience in knowing what their customers want, to again look at how they can help each of those Indigenous businesses in terms of how they may grow further. But it's also a fantastic opportunity to showcase the best of Irish. And one of the things that we're seeing is no matter what type of product it is, it can be anything from confectionery, it can be anything for a deli ingredient, it can be soft drinks. Last year's winner was all about kombucha from Galway, a very high quality product, which is like fermented tea, which has become very important, particularly for those that are health conscious or who have certain needs. And it was about showcasing the best in Ireland. And last year we had over 100 and something entries. And we had, at the end of the day, we found it very hard to have no less than 6 winners. But the overall winner was voted by our independent retailers, and that was all about kombucha from Galway.
And the programme is open for applications until Sunday, the 9th of June. But what specifically are you looking for from the applicants?
It's something that's new and different. It might be a different way in terms of how the product has been made, in terms of its ingredients, in its claim. It can be more, compostable packaging in terms of how it's presented. It can even be a range of products that may only be for a specific region. It doesn't have to be for a national reach. And that's because certain businesses at certain sizes within their life cycle may not be at that level of capacity or production. So we're quite happy to tailor it in terms of reach to what they can actually produce. But what we're really looking for is innovation, something that's a little bit different. And I think when you look at the range of products that we had last year, we had Absolute Nutrition, and that was all about protein balls and different snacks, energy snacks. I already mentioned about kombucha. We also had a company called Aunt Nellie's Luxury Confectionery Chocolate, which again was chocolate bars in the form of each special occasion. It could be Father's Day, Mother's Day, it could be birthdays. And that was something that we hadn't seen before. But also what we saw last year was lots of different types of gins coming in and different types of craft beers. So it can be anything. So again, all of the products that will come in, we have a panel. And as you know, we work very closely with Champion Green, and Evelyn Moynihan will be sitting on that judging panel along with independent retailers and also someone from the buying team within our wholesale partner, BWG Foods.
If anyone listening this morning is interested in applying to take part in Homegrown at Maxol, what do they need to do?
It's very, very simple. What we're trying to do is just make it very simple. And what we're asking any company that's interested, just go to www.maxol.ie/homegrown, and it's a very simple application form.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Brian Donaldson, Chief Executive of Maxol, and I'd like to thank Brian for sharing the company's growth story with us this morning.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.